Here's some food for thought. We are constantly adapting to whatever place we live in. So you live, right? You're alive, I assume, unless you're some kind of ghost that figured out how to listen to this. Even then, you live in some kind of environment. So you live in a house, or you're homeless, assumably. Hopefully you're not homeless. And you live in this house, you have to learn how to live there, right? If you have family there, parents, siblings, a husband or a wife, maybe you live with roommates, you have to learn to live around them or with them. And you're adjusting there. If you, for example, we all need money to eat, so we have to learn some way to make money. These are things where reality starts to become more real. If you don't have any money to eat, reality starts to become very real to the point where you start to understand, oh, that's reality, I need to do this. If it starts to get cold, you have to get warm. If it starts to get hot, you have to get colder. These are all things that we learn, and I find that it's a cycle. It cycles and cycles. And tomorrow and the next day and next year and next year and the year before that, of course. Everything that goes in these continuous cycles, where the longer you live in this world, the better you get at it. That's why I don't fear getting old, because if you can figure out your problems while you're young, if you can figure out something today, or if you can make something better today, then tomorrow it will be better. This goes physically for your body. For example, if you have some kind of festering wound, it'll just keep getting worse, but if you somehow figure out a way to make it better, perhaps you dress it and you clean it and you put some kind of ointment or cream over it, or you start to you internally work, you improve your internal world, or you focus on it, get the circulation better to it. Slowly and slowly it heals. This is kind of what happens in life. Slowly and slowly things get better. And if we go to a job, for example, we all need some way to live, some way to make money. You find a job through your environment, and depending if you live digitally or physically, if you work and live on a farm, or if you work and live in the city or in the suburbs, you have a different environment. You have to make the best use of whatever resources and environment you have, or you have to find a new environment. Of course, if you're young or you're weak or you just can't make the shift, then you're kind of stuck at whatever environment that you have. And I'm finding that the internet is becoming more and more a environment. Sad thing about the internet is that you can't make a whole lot of money, and it's a very difficult, intellectually challenging environment. The same way that the physical 3D world out there in the city or out there and on the job site or whatever can be physically demanding, can be tax your physical, your three-dimensional kind of worldly skills. And the more time you spend in these environments, the more skills you get. The more time you spend talking to people in social environments, the more social skills you get. The more you just become a better person with that. Which is why I don't really like the idea of people always like, oh well, geez, I have this bad problem, I have this mental disease, I have this physical disease. Like, yes, you do, but what are you doing to fix it every day? What are you doing to improve it every day? And they might say, well, it's just a chemical imbalance in my brain, or my doctor told me it's some kind of cellular thing, and this happens and that happens. And it's like, these are all excuses. Of course, while we do have to take responsibility for our life, you also have to understand the forces against you. For example, if you can't do a certain thing in your country, then you simply can't do it, and you have to find another way around it. Perhaps you can't buy a certain thing, you have to find another way around it. So you have to understand that there's both internal and external things. So you can't take responsibility for everything, but you have to take responsibility for what you can. And the more things you take responsibility for, the more power you gain in that way. But of course, you have to realize that you can't do everything, I guess. That's one thing to think. But ultimately, I wanted to talk about the kind of getting familiar and getting used to your environment and your tools and all these kinds of things. Just say if you use a chainsaw or an angle grinder, you're going to get better at it every day. You get more warmed up at it. That is life. You get better at life every day. Yeah, so I guess that's why aging isn't such a bad thing. As I said, to go back to the same point, people fear aging because they get old. Now, what does old mean? It means you get sick and your body decays, and maybe you lose your job or something. Well, what about if we don't do these things? What about if you don't get sick? What about if your body doesn't decay? Why does the body decay? Of course, time oxidizes things, meaning that if you are in oxygen, you're in this air, that it slowly decays you. It slowly, when you eat things, you take on a little bit of poison, but your body is also purging this poison, and you can enhance the purging. The immortality will simply just be the body perfectly purging very well the impurities, and also repairing itself very well. Immortality is very simple. You want to look at the earth and water elements and things like Chinese medicine, Western astrological medicine, if you're more interested in that. But I think we will obtain it through the people who are interested in science will obtain it through science, and the people who are interested in natural medicine and such will obtain it through natural medicine, I believe, if they so desire. Because you do ultimately, at the end of the day, you have the wants to be immortal. I think some people, a lot of people just want to die, and because of that, they do bad things, self-destructive things. And the problem happens when it starts to affect others. These self-destructive habits, which become self-destructive families and companies and countries and such, etc. But anyway, to get back to the main point, whatever you happen to be doing, if you're struggling in it, or if you're kind of unfamiliar with it, you will become more familiar. I think they say about 2 weeks it takes to get used to most jobs, which sounds about right. Or if you perhaps are trained for about 2 weeks, and you should start to get the idea. Too bad they don't really want to, companies don't want to train people for new positions, which causes the problem of the old trees blocking the light of the young trees, and they die and wither. And yes, if you've ever seen that, then you know what I mean, with trees and with peoples. But I think the new age, of course, is coming. It is in the process. I mean, it is already in the process of coming, which is why we should not give in to fear or confusion or panic or delusion. Instead, work towards building the new age, work towards building what you want to do, to be, etc. Otherwise, of course, it'll subconsciously happen according to your, perhaps, astrology and biology, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you've directed yourself on the right track. Anyway, I'll end it here. Of course, check the links in the description. Feel free to comment, feel free to email me, feel free to donate if you want. And of course, if you want commercial stuff, check mostly my Gumroad and my Fiverr for divination, for books, music albums, and other stuff. Anyway, have a nice day.